Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now, Wednesday, December the 14th. It is Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and we've got a special guest joining us today, we just found out before the show now, former pro hockey player, Austin McElmurray, joining us here today on the show. Austin, welcome to the Ice Guys for the first time. How are you?
I'm good, guys. I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and we were saying before the show for Alex and I, it's a little hangover following last night's exciting Ice Guys Live betcast, which I'll tell you what, Austin, the early part of the night, it wasn't going well. The live bets were not going our way, and we got ourselves a little early, 11 days before Christmas miracle in Buffalo last night with the Kings and the Sabres. So that game started like scoreless for the longest time, and we're sitting there with over 6.5 goals before the game. We actually bet a little over 5.5 in game because we figure it's a Buffalo game. They've been playing a lot of high scoring games lately. It'll open up like it did with the Pittsburgh Buffalo game last Friday night, where it started slow. It ended 4-3. And so we're waiting there. And then we're at the end of the second period. It's still scoreless. And we're like, oh, geez, doesn't look like this is going to go well for us tonight. And then all of a sudden, Buffalo explodes in the third period for 6 goals, and they shut out the Kings 6-0. We hit the over 3.5. We hit the over 5.5. We had Buffalo pregame, and we end up going maybe 0-4, Austin, on that game at one point. It was looking like we might be goose-egged. We might have gone 0-4 on that game, and we ended up 3-1. Very nice little turnaround for us there.
There you go.
It was a lot of fun. Like I said, great turnout. But to have, the last 2 betcasts, we went from having the insane game with the Kings and Kraken going back and forth in the 9-8 final, and then yesterday we're all on this one side. We either all had pretty much Sabres or the over, and have all that cash in one period. It's been really fun. So people got to join us for these betcasts. We got a couple coming up, possibly in January. We got them weekly in February and March, and all the way through the playoffs. So it's a lot of fun. If you didn't miss it, if you did miss it, don't miss another one. Definitely want to come and join us for those.
Yeah, exactly. It's live betting. It's commentary. It's fun. We're cracking jokes. We're having laughs. We're drinking during the betcast. It's just a lot of fun. It's really a pub and a bar atmosphere with our Ice Guys Live betcast. And it's a shit ton of fun. Again, we're going to have maybe 1 or 2, 1 for sure, maybe 2 in January in the new year. And then we're going to go weekly with the live betcasts after the NFL season ends, when really the eyeballs turn to hockey. It seems every single year after football season ends. So a lot more betcasts still to come. We'll recap actually last night after. First of all, as we always do with a player guest on with us for the first time, let's talk about the Austin McElmurray hockey background, hockey experience, hockey journey, if you will, how you got into it, where you played, how long you played, and just that crazy journey you were on.
Yeah, crazy journey. It definitely was, man. Born in the Fort Lauderdale, Florida area, raised here. Mom is actually from Hungary, came to the States when she was about 25, but my father was from right outside of the Detroit area, so he played hockey his entire life. And my older brother played, club level as well. And I picked up the stick at a pretty early age, about 3-4 years old, and I couldn't kind of turn away from it. So like I said, born and raised here in South Florida area. Got an opportunity to go to prep school at the age of 14 in Connecticut. Did that for 4 years. It was a great experience. Committed to Sacred Heart University my senior year, and then played a year of junior hockey in Western Canada in the BCHL, about half an hour east of Vancouver. So that was a really, really cool experience there. And then head back to Connecticut, did 4 years at Sacred Heart, and then turned pro after. So played a couple of years in the East Coast League, bounced around a little too much for my liking, and decided in March that everybody has their time, and I felt like my time was coming. So decided to walk away there, and now pursuing a new career here, and just trying to figure out what's kind of going on and what I like. So new world for me, but I'm enjoying every second of it so far.
Nice.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, so growing up in South Florida, how was that, being a hockey fan, seeing the emergence of Tampa Bay and Florida, and of course, like they said, the ECHL, which of course has a really strong foothold in the South. Kind of describe what it's like growing up as a hockey fan in that area during that time, and then of course getting like I said, I know you got to play a couple games with the Florida Everblades, play in Wichita, play in those areas where hockey, most people may not think it's a hockey hotbed necessarily, but just kind of go over that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the game is it's all markets are growing, right? Even the ones that aren't considered hockey hotbeds. But no, growing up in Florida, it was almost like a blessing in disguise, right? Because being able to excel and be one of the better players pretty immediately gives you opportunities to move on to higher levels elsewhere, where eventually you have to kind of have a reality check that just because you're the best where you come from doesn't necessarily mean that that's the case when you get onto those larger stages. So it was kind of big for me in a learning experience when I first moved away. But no, yeah, I mean, I was super fortunate, man. I never played Tier 1 AAA while I was in South Florida. The first time I did was when I moved away to Connecticut. But I had great resources. Even coming home in the summertime, I had a lot of friends who played that I trained with, and I can think of 3 who are my best friends. 2 currently play in the NHL. 1 is also now retired. So just having the 3 of them being able to kind of push each other and make sure we were getting better every day. It didn't matter if I was in Toronto, Boston, it didn't matter where I was, even down here in South Florida, I had 2, even 3 guys who were at the top of their game pushing to make me better. So it was a great experience. And, obviously South Florida is growing a ton in terms of names being recognized, guys playing in the NHL, guys playing high-end pro, and, whether it's overseas, minor leagues, whatever it is. So it's cool to see it grow, and hopefully with the Panthers and the Lightning having a lot of success here in the last few years, hopefully we can continue to see it grow.
Yeah, I find there's been a sharp dichotomy with the support from the Lightning. The Lightning have been a juggernaut. Who's kidding who for the last decade? It has helped that they've been winning year after year after year for 10 years or so. Including, of course, multiple Stanley Cups, been to the Stanley Cup final now 3 years in a row. Of course, the support's going to be strong when you have that kind of a longevity run of success and greatness, like the Lightning have had. It's been tougher for the Florida Panthers, obviously, much tougher. The running joke for me on this show for years has been it's a Halloween costume party for every Florida Panthers home game. Everybody comes dressed as empty seats. So I always say that. And
let me ask you this, Ian. How many games have you been to?
Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's what we're gonna do after the show. We're gonna organize that. Next time you take a trip down south, I'll get you into that stadium. But yeah, I mean, they get a lot of bad.
I knew you'd defend it too. I knew you would.
Well, they get a lot of bad rep, like in terms of attendance and whatnot. And you do have to realize this market is predominantly Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, Miami Marlins. I mean, it's reality, right? We live in South Florida. It stays warm all year.
I honestly think the Panthers get more people than the Marlins, honestly.
No, there was like a handful of pictures that came out, I want to say probably like 3 or 4 years ago, of like a Tuesday preseason game at like 11 a.m. And there was maybe like 15 people in the crowd. So that damn picture has been lingering around here for a couple of years. But I've been to, I retired in March, and I got to go to a bunch of games at the end of the season last year. I got to go to the playoff games, and I've already been to probably 4 or 5 games this year. And I mean, listen, man, I was just in Columbus this past weekend visiting a buddy watching a Blue Jackets game, and sure, they do great in attendance, but like it's nothing crazy out of this world compared to the Panthers. And Florida Live Arena is huge, and they've been doing a pretty damn good job. I would say like 85%, 90% fill almost every game I've been to. So we got to get you down, and we got to get you to experience it first. It's a good experience. I mean, I'm sure the crowd maybe doesn't fully understand what's going on, but they're getting ass in seats, man, and they're getting better every year in terms of doing that. So the marketing is getting better.
Funny you say that. Come on down to South Florida, Miami area. I was actually in Miami a few years ago. I was doing this we were doing this get together for, I worked to do shows as well for Pub Sports Radio. And it was basically all the personalities that do shows there. We're going down to Miami for like the sports betting rendezvous, if you will. And we did a bunch of things. We went to a Dolphins preseason game.
Yep.
It was in August when we went. So it was a Dolphins preseason game against Jacksonville at Hard Rock Stadium. It went to a Marlins game as well. It was late in the season. They were obviously, losing team, losing record, but still fun. That's a beautiful ballpark, I have to say.
Gorgeous.
It's an absolutely gorgeous ballpark, and it's just a damn shame they can't put a winning product on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even like the winning product. It's just like originally when they were building it, it's like they put it in such a tough location.
Yeah.
I mean, even for me, it takes like an hour to get down there.
Even Hard Rock Stadium's in a middle of nowhere. Yeah.
I mean, but Hard Rock, I'll give the benefit of the doubt. Like it's more of like a neutral ground for South Florida. I mean, but even the ballpark's probably still half an hour from there. It's tough. There's no parking, and I mean, great. The seats are $7. You sit wherever you want because there's nobody in the damn place. But then you got to pay. I mean, like everywhere, you got to pay your $20 for a beer and this and that.
Yeah.
It's just the location of it wasn't. I feel like they kind of took a wild guess, and it just isn't really working out for them right now. But again, you put out a winning team, you never know what's going to happen.
Sure.
No, exactly. But you mentioned the prices of beer. It brings back bad memories. Even here, going to a Blue Jays game earlier this year, $25 for a tall can of beer and a hot dog. $25. That's like
crazy.
Holy shit! It's crazy. Like I can get a damn good meal somewhere for that price or close to it. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. The prices of concession foods and drink for that matter, at ballparks and NBA arenas, all sports, NFL, I'm sure the same. It's not good, certainly. And then, of course, inflation's going around too these days, and that doesn't make it any easier. There's no question about that. So, but no, you're right. And I'll say that, and Gulfstream, we went to Gulfstream Park when I was down there a few years ago. Yeah, exactly. One of the bigger and more well-known horse tracks, of course, in the United States. So definite Florida Derby, I believe, is down there every single year. So, it was fun. But you're right. I've not been to a Florida Panthers home game, so might have to arrange that at some point. So is there a pathway or something that in terms of your future plans, obviously they don't include hockey now, but future plans, and also talk about, your interest and how much you've dabbled in the betting side of things as well.
Yeah, no, in terms of what I'm kind of here doing next, I'm in sales right now. I think naturally I am a salesman. I come from a family of sales. My father's business is all sales oriented. So I think something along the lines of sales. What I'm currently doing, it's been good. It's first job. So just a lot of learning experience right now. So, whether it's the long-term job or something else kind of presents itself, I'm just kind of playing it by ear right now. But in terms of the betting world, I mean, I got a bunch of buddies who were pretty big bettors. I'm not a huge better, I would say, but I do dabble in every, night, every other night, get in on some of the fun, some of the action that I like. And, depending on kind of what's going on, if my buddies are playing and kind of where everything's at. And, like this past weekend, went to see the Blue Jackets. I took them as dogs on Friday and Sunday. They won both games, big games. So, I like to fool around a little bit, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, Columbus has been a weird team. They've been a very tough team to read at times. They've actually, with all the injuries, I give them credit for playing, as well as they did. Last night was not their night, though, because Florida actually lost in Columbus to them, and that was the worry I had last night. And sure enough, Florida, they weren't messing around last night. They basically dominated the Blue Jackets start to finish, and we saw that on the betcast. Very frustrated we couldn't get any goals for Columbus past goalie Bob last night. But like I said, that's the goalie Bob ratio right now. One good start every 5 or 6. That's basically what you get with him right now. What do you think about this goalie situation down there? Obviously, you're close to the scene there with the Florida Panthers. It's Spencer Knight time, as far as I'm concerned. It's time to make this kid the number one. He's the future. Bobrovsky's not.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, you look at and watch him play, a young kid, fiery passion, desire to be a starter in the NHL. It's hard to turn that away. And, it's hard you got to think about management side too. I mean, when you're handing a guy 10 sheets every year, you want to see something out of your investment, right? So, I see the kind of the dilemma that they're dealing with, because obviously Bobrovsky, he won a Vezina, didn't he? Or was he a finalist? He won
He's a finalist.
He's been a finalist, I think, 2 times.
Yeah. So, I mean, clearly at one point, whether it was in the past or not, the guy was a gamer, and you never know with goalies, man. They can get streaky and find that special click, right? So, it's a tough situation. Like, you gotta really feel for both sides. I mean, I would imagine what they're kind of dealing with going back and forth. It's not really bothering either goalie right now, but as Spencer Knight kind of progresses, I'm assuming he would like to see 75% of the time his name in the starting lineup sheet. So it's an interesting kind of deal, and obviously you see the rumors of Florida trying to shop Bob's contract around, and I mean, reality is nobody's really wanting to take on that $10 million for a goalie you don't know what you're going to get out of. So interesting and unique situation for sure.
Ian, you're on mute.
Yeah, Bobrovsky's had he's had a good career. Let's not kid ourselves. He's had some nice years, there's no question, but we've seen, at least to me, it looks like some decline from him the last couple of years. And like I said, I think it's just about that time we see more Spencer Knight getting the number one job in terms of the goaltending role for the Florida Panthers. All right, as we do with first-time guests, we've got some highlights from the past. We go to the highlight vault. We go to the vault. We go to the highlight reel here for Austin McElmurray. This is from the Iowa Heartlanders. This is where he played for them for a bit in the ECHL. So let's see if we can cue that up here. Let me just got to hit the play button.
Not to be the case today in Toledo. Heartlanders to the left wing circle. Center and score! Austin McElmurray! How about a debut? And the Heartlanders are tied again. 5-5. McElmurray at 8 minutes of the third. Heartlanders debut. And he scores. Not to be the case today in Toledo.
There we go. How about that for a great goal there, Austin, because you just snapped the thing. You didn't hesitate. You didn't waste time. Goalie can't get set in time. It's a pretty impressive goal. Well done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a fun one. I was actually traded from the team we were playing.
Yeah.
I was traded from Toledo.
That's why it said revenge game on the tweet there. Yeah.
From Toledo to Iowa that morning. So I skated pre-game skate with both teams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And after the second pre-game skate, I moved all my stuff about 30 yards down the hall to another room. I went back to my apartment in Toledo, got ready for the game, and played for the opposite side. So yeah, that was an interesting one for me. A lot of emotions, kind of blacked out the whole game, and lucky you got a good opportunity in front of
it. It worked out for you because not only did you score a goal, but you avoided wearing those ugly SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah,
so that's a double win right there.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but in that video, I have a different nameplate than the rest of my team. So typically when you get traded, they swap nameplates. They have them created in a couple hours, but because Iowa was on the road, their nameplate line wasn't long enough for my last name to have it put on there. So they actually slapped a nameplate from one of my old Toledo jerseys onto my Iowa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fascinating. I did not know that.
Different color and font on my jersey. It's funny, but yeah, it was a pretty cool experience looking back at it, though.
Nice, good stuff. Yeah, those Heartlander jerseys. I think those are the best uniforms in the coast.
Oh, and they were sweet. The dark ones are mean too. They're really clean looking. So.
I find there's some and Alex will attest to this because he collects every jersey and team jersey known to man as much as he can. There's some really damn good minor league jerseys out these days. Yeah. Excellent, and some of them actually outshine some of the NHL one in terms of color scheme, design, logo, that kind of thing, and really well done. Yep.
Yeah, I wore some really cool jerseys. Obviously, being in the coast, you do like a lot of special edition nights and stuff like that. And I wore a lot of cool ones. My favorite one, honestly, we when I was in Toledo, we had Winterfest. We played outdoor games at the AAA ballpark, and those yellow and blue, because we wore a blue one and a yellow one. Those Winterfest jerseys in Toledo were pristine. Those were nice ones.
Nice. Yeah.
All right, we got one more clip queued up here. This is actually from you from the BCHL, playing for Coquitlam out there. That was a little earlier on in life.
There we go. Pressing again.
Let's make sure
and we are underway from Coquitlam.
here.
Goes to the end wall in the express zone. Doman in there trying to center it. That's blocked.
Yeah, of course. Coquitlam, by the way, is in the white
in front. They score. All alone
Okay,
in
that's the
front
bad
is
guy
Patrick
scoring.
Geary.
There you go.
And 54 seconds into the game, it's 1-0 Capitals. Now Green gets the puck along the left wing boards and feeds the line. Barrow at the right point. Nice pass across. Stout firing his shot. Hit the post and bounced over top of the goal. 2-on-1 with McElmurray coming late. Green looks, feeds McElmurray, scores!
That. Take the pass on the break and then slam it. Slam it home.
Austin McElmurray with a great finish on the 2-on-1, and the Express have
not
tied the
done,
game.
folks.
It's 1-1. Kehoe in the Express zone looks, dances in the middle, fires a shot. Howard the save, and he covers up the rebound with two Caps heading to the goal. Now loose in the circle, and a quick shot put just wide of the goal by Oshetsky. Delayed penalty coming up here as Green is chopping with Craighead.
Nice
and both referees have their arms up, and Green is
Let
throwing
him
some
go.
punches with that long reach of his at Deary and Craighead.
I don't like that. Let them go. They really want to fight.
Green with a
Don't be
shot
a
off the
Kevin
face-off,
Collins.
broke his stick. Now he has to hustle back as the Caps move in. Oshetsky in the express zone. Stops, fires a shot, hit the post. And it bounces all the way back to the line. Loose to the side of the net. And it comes straight to McElmurray with a shot. He scores!
That was a one-time bomb. One-time blast.
Just inside the goalpost, Austin McElmurray.
Got to say, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
stuff
nice.
there.
Good stuff, man.
Nice goals in that game, too.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, thanks. Those were the heydays back in junior. It's crazy to think, man. It's 7 years ago now, but yeah, I what a great experience that was living in Coquitlam, being in the Vancouver area. It was awesome. Yeah, brings back a lot of memories just watching that. That's funny.
Yeah,
Nice,
that's right around
nice.
the time, you talk about 7 years ago, that's right around the time we were starting to put this little show together called the Ice Guys for the very first time. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy how long we've been doing this as well. It's been pretty insane. All right, let's put a bow on last night's action, then we'll get into the 3 games tonight on Wednesday. I do want to mention, of course, Alex Ovechkin, 800 goals, gets it in style with a hat trick. Puts cash in my pocket in the process, because if you were on the BetCast last night, and I hope everybody listened, because I think I mentioned it 3 or 4 times, and I actually bet it more than once. I actually jumped in early at plus 400 on Alex Ovechkin to score a hat trick after the second period, because he's going to look to, and thank goodness for Bet365. They are one of the very few books you can bet live goal scorer props in game during the game, and you can bet guys to score 1 goal, 2 goals, 3 goals. Of course, for Ovechkin, he already had 2, and you could bet him in game to score a hat trick, 3 or more, plus 400. I jumped on that because they're going to look for him. They're going to try to get him the puck. They're going to try to get him that hat trick goal, number 800 in Chicago last night. And we know Mrazek was a sieve last night. Couldn't stop a beach ball in that game. It was the perfect setup for Ovechkin to get that 800th goal and that hat trick goal. And then third period started, and the price just kept getting better and better. And he had a real good chance early in the third that he didn't score on. And then it jumped to plus 500. And I'm saying, I'm adding more. I'm betting more of this at plus 500. So I added on a little bit more. And then sure enough, 3-4 minutes later, there he is with the 800th goal of his career and the hat trick goal against Chicago last night. So 2 live bets at the plus 400 and plus 500 on Ovechkin to get the hat trick. And for him, just an incredible accomplishment. And now we're at the point now where it's a question of not if, but when he passes number 99 Wayne Gretzky as the all-time goal scorer in the National Hockey League, and an incredible feat. Now, I've joked a little bit about how lately a lot of his goals have been empty net goals, and that has been true. But no, it doesn't take away from just the, one of the great goal scorers of all time. That's the way Alex Ovechkin's career is going to go down, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you see, on the road in Chicago, the Hawks fans basically gave him a standing ovation when he got that hat trick goal. I mean, it's something if you're a hockey fan, it doesn't matter if it's against your team, you have to applaud that kind of a feat and achievement. It's only the 3rd time it's ever happened in history. Who knows when it's going to happen again? I mean, there's a lot of great scorers in the league, but the longevity, not just durability of him playing this long, but consistently being a 40, 50, 60 goal scorer year after year. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible for him to get a hat trick, to do it. It's just mind-boggling the way that this guy has kept himself in shape and just finds ways to score. He's a natural scorer, and he's like I said, quickly on his way to being the best goal scorer in NHL history.
Yeah, no question about that. And you know what I love too, and someone in the chat during our live betcast last night pointed it out. Ovechkin celebrates with the exuberance he did as a rookie and in his second year
Yep.
as he does now. He hasn't changed a bit. He still gets so excited after scoring a goal, big celebrations, big fist pump, big smile on his face, gaping mouth wide open. I mean, just so excited every time he scores a goal. He's still just that adrenaline pulses through his veins every time he scores a goal today, just like it did when in his rookie year and his second year when he was just a young kid in the league. That's another cool thing about the way Ovi reacts when he scores a goal. Austin, what did you think of seeing that play out last night? Number 800 for number 8.
Yeah, it was definitely special. I mean, it's crazy to think that he's been in the league as long as he has and being able to produce at the steady numbers that he always has. I mean, that's why he's going to be number one, right? And he will, like you said, it's just a matter of time when now. It's not about if, it's when. And a guy like that, it's funny because obviously I can't relate my game by any means to Alexander Ovechkin, but the passion for scoring goals and the love and the feel that it gives you, it's awesome to see that he still looks like that 18-year-old kid that just entered the league yesterday, right? So yeah, it's really cool, and hopefully it gets a little bit sooner than later here. I see him skating around. He looks like he's slowing down just a little bit, but he's the kind of guy who could be on in a wheelchair. But if you put him on top of that circle on the power play, he's guaranteed 20. So cool to see, and excited to see a record that everyone thought was untouchable. Finally have a chance to be broken.
His game has kind of gone full circle because at the beginning he got kind of criticized for not playing enough defensively, and now he's gotten to the point where he slowed down. It's like, screw it, just get in your office in the circle died and fire away. They don't really rely on him to have to back check so often, but he did add that implement to his game over time. That's why the Capitals eventually did win a Stanley Cup and why they've been a dominant team in the East for years. So like I said, it's just really to watch his whole career and see how dynamic he's been this entire time. It's truly something to watch. It's not just as a hockey fan, just a sports fan overall.
Yeah, I remember when he was breaking into the league, the big conversation was no way he'll be able to play this fast, heavy, hard-hitting, goal-scoring, and for a long time. Like slow out. There's no way he's going to score 60 every year, 50 every year, whatever it is. And sure, he slowed down in terms of the running guys through the wall and, going 120 miles an hour nonstop. But, that's what good players do. They adapt to the change. They adapt to their bodies. They adapt to the way that, the game is progressing too. And, pretty damn sure he's done a pretty damn good job at doing it. So, yeah, a lot of credit to him. I mean, it's a special player right there. Not one you see very often.
And another thing, too, that's it's amazing constantly after how many years in the league? 16, 17 now for Ovechkin, that he still gets to the face-off circle. And with that one-timer, and people still can't stop it or defend it properly. It's just amazing. He just slinks into his little office there, his little spot, face-off circle, just plants himself there, and they still don't figure it out, the opposing team. It's just amazing. He still is able to, pull that off as much as he does after all these years. You're right about him slowing down a bit, because the one thing you used to see early in the year, those high-flying goals he would score off the rush, he'd just fly up and down the ice, and just rip it. He's not doing that like he used to, obviously. He just, as you'd expect now that he's well into his 30s. But no, he's still finding different ways to score goals, just basically changing his game around to, where he's at in his career right now. And that's what good players do. They change their game around based on the stage they are at in their career. Just briefly, a couple last things, and then we'll move to tonight. Tampa Bay with a nice 6-2 win. Edmonton bounces back, beats Nashville 6-3. Disappointing from the Winnipeg Jets. They lose 6-5 to the Vegas Golden Knights. Had a lead multiple times in that game and couldn't get the job done. And great win, though, for Vegas without Jack Eichel, without maybe your two best defensemen, Alex Pietrangelo and Shea Theodore. Those are two outstanding defensemen. They overcome that, and they beat the Winnipeg Jets 6-5. Colorado with a 3-2 win against a feisty Flyers team. Flyers doing what they usually do. They battle, they hang in there, and they lose a narrow margin. And that's exactly what happened last night. And San Jose beats Arizona 3-2. Bruins in a very good game, entertaining game, beat the Islanders 4-3 in a shootout. Dallas beats New Jersey 4-1. We talked about the Sabres shutting out LA, and another shutout, touchdown with the extra point. Toronto 7-0 over Anaheim. And I said this on Twitter. I mean, Kyle Dubas, they rip him. They cannot wait to criticize him, Leaf fans, when he screws up and does something bad or has a bad contract or a bad trade or a bad signing. And we don't hear enough when he does something good from that fan base. You know, the fact that he looks like a genius right now for bringing in Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov for pennies on the dollar, and look what they're doing in net for the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. It's been amazing. And I've said this too, the eye test, everything you see about Toronto the last 2 weeks tells you this is a well-oiled machine. This is a cup contender that can win it all. There's no doubt. There's no one that can deny that right now with the way they're playing. They look like a bona fide cup contender that can win it all. Their offense is thriving. This is the best team defense I've seen them play in years. The goaltending is there. But then there's also that other side of your brain that says, hold on now. Have we said this before about Toronto teams last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? I think we have to a degree, but I think even last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we haven't said this good about their team I've never seen their team defense, honestly, this good. Even last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and now they've got it going with the goaltending. But at the same point in time, we know about the first round issues. We know they haven't won a first round playoff series. So that's still that little hesitancy to buy in. It just is when you see the failures and the floundering in the first round every single year. I want to buy in right now. This team's doing everything right at this point in time. But then you see the playoff fuck ups and issues every single year. And then you try to take a step back and say, maybe it's going to be more of the same. But I don't know, Alex. They look damn good right now. They look like a team that can win a Stanley Cup, but then you see the first round screw-ups and failures, and you're still hesitant to truly buy in.
Yeah. Yeah. I said it yesterday, they're playing good hockey right now. And that's what they have to focus on. They have to take things a month at a time, a game at a time. You can't let those harborings, bring you down in December and January, because you start focusing on that and then you get into a losing streak, get into a rut. Next thing you know, you're not even making the playoffs. So, just play your hockey right now, play your game. That will come around in due time, and they will have to buckle down and figure out how to overcome that when the time is near. But right now, they're doing what needs to be done, and it's been fun watching it. And for Anaheim, I'm really stunned. We talked about it on the betcast. We were thinking, could Dallas Eakins be out of a job this morning? The way that they got blown out, the way that the defensive struggles have been going, it's not all his fault. Of course, the goaltending has not been even close to average. The defense has been piss poor. So, with all that being said, Anaheim has to make some kind of change at some point, even though they are clearly they're actively tanking. They're in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. But, I mean, how long can you let this go on, honestly, even in a tanking manner, giving up 6 and 7 goals left and right, and John Gibson not nearly being as good? I don't even know what kind of value they can get for him trade-wise, because, like I said, he's playing through an injury. Any team that's looking to pick him up should probably make him a backup, let him get healthy to try to help out. But you want a goalie, you want him to play right away. So they're in a real bad conundrum on all levels right now, and they've got to figure things out sooner than later, because if they get stuck with just holding these pieces, having a bad year, instead of bolstering at least their trade position and trade assets and draft assets, I should say, then it's just only going to be a wash and repeat of the same feudal hockey we've seen from them for quite some time.
Yeah, it is. It's been tough to see. I'm feeling that there may not be a worse season point total or win total bet that I make in the NHL than Anaheim over. That was it's Anaheim over, all right. As in that bet's over. It's finished. It's history. You ain't winning that shit, Ian.
That still ain't as bad as my Boston under. My Boston under. I mean, that's just gonna be historically bad. So we're both in the same boat, but in different directions. So.
That's right. I've got some good point total bets going too, but that one was just hideous. Anaheim over, not going to come. But you're right, Boston under. That surprised me too. I mean, the Bruins with what they're doing, just an incredible start. But Austin, anything you want to talk about teams from last night that you want to talk about that you got a thought on, a comment?
No, not particularly. Obviously the Panthers have been a little bit up and down here recently. Huge for them to get a win. Obviously moving into the rest of the week, and Columbus has a little bit of a road trip here. Getting beat up pretty bad after 2 wins at home this weekend it's tough, but moving into Tampa tomorrow, hopefully they can kind of bounce back as well. So other than that game, that was the only game I really was in on last night.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, before we get into Wednesday's card, we are happy to introduce another new sponsor here to the Ice Guys show starting today, Gramco. Alex, tell us more.
Yeah, Gramco. This is a wonderful company out of Florida. This is Delta 8 CBD products. And, whether you or your team's game is on the field, screen, the track, the court, or the ice, Gramco is for the game. Grown by farmers who spent years developing premium hemp genetics, Gramco provides customers with consistent quality Delta 8 THC products ready for almost any occasion. They have numerous Delta 8 products, including vape cartridges, disposable vapes, pre-rolls, gummies, wake and bake coffee, and more. The gummies are tremendous. The vapes, you see me use them on air last night and early in the week. Gramco offers an enjoyable legal high delivered discreetly and directly to you. Gramco is also available at many American retailers. You can get the best cannabis products on the market shipped quickly and discreetly to you from Gramco. And if you visit thegramco.com, use promo code ICEGUYS, that's one word, ICEGUYS, you'll save 25% on every order. So it's not just the first time you sign up, you get a discount. You can use that discount code anytime you want. And anything you buy on that site over $50, shipping is free. So live elevated with Gramco and check out their wonderful array of Delta 8 products.
There we go. Check it out, Gramco, and use the promo code IceGuys. There it is. All right, let's get to our Wednesday NHL card. We got 3 games, and we will start with the Ottawa Senators and Montreal Canadiens. Montreal minus 220, home favorites here, 6.5. Or Ottawa, sorry, I got that reversed. Ottawa minus 220, home favorites in this game. 6 being the total in this game. I told you I was hungover from last night, but nevertheless, we've got the. We've got the
need
Montreal...
some big coffees, eh?
Yeah, exactly. So there we go. Perfect time to promote Gramco at a time like this. But yeah. Obviously Montreal, coming off a nice win against Calgary in their last game, very impressive from them. No question about that. They'll look to keep it going here tonight against the Ottawa Senators, who have been obviously up and down all over the place this season. There's no question about that. As far as this game goes, Montreal, Sam Montembeault, by the way, going to be in net for them tonight following that shootout win against Calgary. Montembeault's numbers, they're okay. They're not great on the season, right around a 3 goals against, 2.97, just under that, 908 save percent. They're okay. That's essentially what those numbers are. They're just average, maybe slightly below average, but that's what you're getting from him. Ottawa does have a few injuries. Timmy Stützle is out. Of course, they've already been without Josh Norris for a while, but Stützle is going to be out. So there's some shuffling going on with DJ Smith and the Senators lineup here for this game tonight. Moving Derek Brassard up to the top line, centering the line with Brady Tkachuk and Claude Giroux here for this game tonight. And you know what that means? That means that little bargain bin prop radar goes off, and Brassard probably is undervalued tonight. You're going to be able to get good prices on him just to get a point, for him to get a goal as well, playing with Giroux and Brady Tkachuk. And Brady Tkachuk's really been good lately, playing like you want your captain to play, leading by example. He's been solid for the Senators in recent games. But if you actually look at the prop market for Brassard, as I mentioned, to score a goal, plus 400 in some spots. And you're talking about someone that's playing top line tonight for the Ottawa Senators. Again, not accounted for in the prop market. The fact that he's moving all the way up to the top line for the Senators tonight. So it's very a solid value. Looking toward him to score a goal tonight, you would think. For Montreal, from a prop standpoint for them, definitely we talk about Caulfield, Suzuki, and Doc. That top line has been very good for them, carrying the way offensively. Juraj Slafkovsky is slowly but surely starting to make more of an impact in terms of chances. He only has still just 4 goals on the season, and he hasn't scored in the last 5 games, but he's had 5 shots on goal, and his expected goals in the last 2 games have been up there. So the number 1 overall pick, Juraj Slafkovsky, is starting to generate some offensive, at least some chances for the Montreal Canadiens. You could go that route as well from a prop standpoint tonight. I definitely would not endorse Ottawa at this price, as you would assume. I would only look toward Montreal here in this one. I might take a small shot with them here in this game, even though Ottawa has won 3 of the last 5, including back-to-back against Montreal, and Ottawa has started to play a little bit better these last couple of games. 3-2 win against Nashville and a 3-0 shutout against Anaheim. So I just think they're a little overpriced here. I lean Montreal. I do like the over a little bit, though. The total's gone up from 6 to 6.5, and I do agree with that. Alex, what do you think here, Canadiens and Senators?
This is when I'll be looking at live action, mostly with the first period. Looking at the first period over, don't need to lay out $1.50 here because these are two teams, mostly Ottawa. Ottawa is pretty much the kind of team that you can rely on to do things in the first period. 20-8 with a goal in the first 10 minutes. We've seen them also toward the top of the rankings. They are on a 6-4 run to the first period over in the last 10. I think they can get a good jump here. But like I said, it's definitely not one of those spots where I look to back Ottawa full game. And I still don't quite get, we've been talking about it for a while, seeing Ottawa at this high of a price. I mean, it's just, I'm waiting for the ball to kind of drop. But if they get on a hot run and continue to keep winning, I mean, are we going to just start seeing, $2 be the norm for Ottawa moving forward? It's interesting. It seems like the bookmakers are kind of reverting back to, the hype that was around the Senators at the beginning of the year. And I was one of those people too. I have a Senators tickets for them to make the playoffs. So I thought they were going to be a much better team. They seem to be kind of rounding into form, but they're not at that level that I was expecting them to be at right now. Looking back a couple of months ago, they're still just kind of a middle of the road team that could lay an egg in this spot here. So definitely wouldn't look at anything sideways. I would just look at anything totals, but look for better prices adjusted in game.
All right, good stuff. Austin, how about you? Montreal, Ottawa.
Yeah, I mean, again, two teams pretty slow right now, but both very young, up and coming. I wouldn't think that I mean, I have them at -210. I think you just said -220 there, but definitely not a straight bet by any means for the money line. But I do have them in a parlay with the Minnesota Wild. So I will be doing Ottawa, Minnesota Wild. I think that ends up being like a +106 area. But one thing I do like in terms of player props, big fan of shooters, love guys who can shoot the puck. And one guy, every time I watch the damn Montreal Canadiens game, is Cole Caulfield. Man, the kid loves to rip it. So I am probably going to go Cole Caulfield over 3.5. It's very risky business, but against an young Ottawa Senators D, I think over 3.5 +112 would be my go-to player prop here.
Yeah, definitely. I think those are good options in terms of the player prop market. All right, Detroit and Minnesota. This is the first game of a TNT doubleheader tonight, national television. We've got the Red Wings and Wild, Minnesota -250, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. This is one of those games where, in terms of the matchup here, do we give Philip Gustafsson his due for the last start? Because that was as good as I've seen him play, honestly, against Vancouver. 35 save shutout. And a 3-0 win over the Vancouver Canucks for him in that game. And to be quite honest with you, 3 of his last 4 starts have been really good. Carolina got a 2-1 win over the Hurricanes in that game, a 6-1 win over the Winnipeg Jets. The one game that was kind of rough for him was that 4-goal allowance to Anaheim, but the Wild still won that game 5-4. And then he has the shutout on Saturday night in Vancouver against the Canucks. So his last 4 starts have trended in a much better direction for Gustafsson. And his overall numbers, they are improving. 2.47 goals against and a .920 save percentage on the season for him going into this matchup against Detroit. Tough spot for Detroit, right? They were in a slog of a game last night, tight checking, low scoring, not a whole lot of room to maneuver, not a lot of open ice. Last night against the Carolina Hurricanes, they end up losing by a score of 1-0 to the Hurricanes in that game. And now you travel back-to-back to Minnesota now for this game tonight. So this could be a little bit of a tough situation for the Detroit Red Wings. Minnesota has won 5 of the last 6 meetings against the Detroit Red Wings as well. And I think a common thread that you start to see when these two teams meet, especially 4 of the last 5 meetings, Minnesota has scored 4 or more goals against the Detroit Red Wings. And in each of the last 2 times they've hosted Detroit here at XL Energy Center, they've scored 7 and they've scored 4. That's 11 goals in those 2 games combined. So I'm really going to look toward more isolating the Minnesota Wild team total here in this one. Over 3.5 is around -140 to -145. We don't have a goalie confirmation yet for the Detroit Red Wings, but dollars to donuts, it's Alex Nedeljkovic after we saw Ville Husso get the start last night for the Red Wings against the Carolina Hurricanes. That's what I'm expecting. And as we know with Nedeljkovic, it's been a tough year. 2-6, 4.09 goals against average, 880 save percentage. I mean, he's had a tough time. Not quite the same type of goaltending we got from him in Carolina. since he went to Detroit at the beginning of last season. So I think it's probably a Wild team total over that I target here in this game, just waiting on that official confirmation. What do you think here, Alex? Red Wings, Wild.
Yeah, so last night on the betcast, I grabbed a really small quarter unit play on over 2 plus 120 in the first period. I figured that would probably adjust in the morning, and sure enough, it did. Now you can get over 1.5 to land $1.40. So I played a little bit of that as well. I like the first period over. I love the full game over as well at 6 because you've got Detroit coming off of a shutout. You got Ned and Net. They're going to be fired up. They want to play a much better game. And Minnesota's going to open up the ice the way that Carolina does it, especially at home. Like I said, the high-flying tendencies that the Wild have, they always tend to arise at home more than on the road, whether it's good or bad, whether they're giving up goals like they did at the beginning of the year or they're finding ways to score and keep games close. Like I said, this 8 and 3 streak that they've had in the last 11 games, this has not been the prettiest 8 wins out of 11 games that we've seen. They've had to kind of struggle and claw through. They had to come from behind against Dallas. They had to, or they blew the lead rather against Dallas. Had to fight against Arizona and Anaheim, teams that are miserable at home. That's not a good sign for them overall. So yes, they're getting the points in the standings, but they're not doing it in the cleanest of ways. I think this is going to be a back and forth game as far as scoring goes. Not sure who wins it. So I'm just going first period over and full game over.
If you like Minnesota to score tonight, this might be a good night to, we always talk about this, betting player points versus betting player power play points, because power play points, you get better prices with everybody. And the Minnesota Wild power play right now, if you look at it, they have scored at least one power play goal in 9 of their last 10 games. That power play is cooking right now for Minnesota at the moment. So if you like player props involving the Wild tonight, whether it's Kaprizov, Boldy, Zuccarello, you name them, power play points, take a shot. You've got a red hot power play right now. And the Detroit penalty kill hasn't been Anaheim level bad, but it has been below average, the Detroit penalty kills. So definitely a power play points prop type of night. Maybe you sprinkle on a bunch of those involving Minnesota Wild players with their power play in good form. And again, slightly below average penalty kill as well for the Detroit Red Wings. Austin, what are you thinking here? Wings and Wild.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm going to parlay the Wild with the Senators. As far as the goals go, I mean, both teams up and down, right? Like Red Wings are putting up big numbers. Some games they're getting shut out. Others, Wild have had a really tough year in terms of injuries, guys going up and down. I mean, it's been a little bit of a hit or miss in terms of the goals, but my favorite bet in this game is Matthew Boldy over half a point at -128. Big Boldy fan. I think he brings a huge presence. Obviously plays on the first power play as well. And, good to actually, you mentioned to check out those power play props as well. So I might have to venture towards that way on Boldy, but big Boldy fan. So over half a point there.
For the last few games, it's been Kaprizov and Boldy. Boldy scored in back-to-back games, and he has 3 points in the last 2 games as well for the Wild. And, of course, it goes without saying Kaprizov definitely has been absolutely outstanding for the Wild as well during this run that they've put together. So Ottawa, Minnesota there, moneyline parlay for Austin here with the card tonight. All right, last game here, Vancouver and Calgary. Will pick up the pace. We know Austin's got to head out in a few minutes here. We've got Calgary -180, home favorites here, and the total right now in this one currently 6.5 across the board. So I'm, like I said, after that Montreal game, it frustrated me because they didn't really play that well, Calgary. I expected better than that after the Toronto loss and the Columbus loss, for that matter, on the road trip, and they got outplayed by Montreal. They actually deserved to lose that game, and it's a shame because Jacob Markstrom, who's been criticized, he actually stepped up and played a hell of a game against Montreal the other night. It was one of his best games in a while, and now the team lets him down, with just running around in their own zone. They really don't generate enough offensively, and now they're back home after a road trip here. I mean, I'm pumping the brakes on the Calgary Flames for now. Definitely not looking to lay $1.85 with them. I'm not going to take Vancouver either because I honestly don't have trust in them after seeing them look so listless, shut out by Minnesota on Saturday night. So it's a real tough game for me from a side perspective in this one. It's probably more of a game I'm going to look toward the prop market. And I think there are some opportunities here for props in this one. I'm seeing some line changes being made by Bruce Boudreau here with Vancouver. And I'm seeing one of them being Curtis Lazar I believe he's going to play on the top line. Am I seeing that correctly? I'm just wondering because there's some sites that have him up on the top line for the Vancouver Canucks. Yes, with Lazar and no, Lazar, I should say, is the guy moving up to the top line. But he is expected to be with Horvat and JT Miller on the top line tonight. So you know what that means? It's bargain bin prop time for yours truly. I love these situations. And Austin, you'll find that out, especially if you come back on the show. I love these situations. Player moving up the lineup. They're fired up. They're playing with better players, more ice time, more opportunity, and opportunity, obviously, to make an impact offensively when this happens. And Curtis Lazar to score tonight is plus 675 at Caesars. And he's on the top line tonight with JT Miller and with Bo Horvat. So that's absolutely bargain bin time for yours truly tonight with Curtis Lazar, if he indeed is up on that top line, as it appears he is for the Vancouver Canucks in this game tonight. You know what he does? He's worked his ass off. He's a hard worker. I think that's why Boudreau is going to give him a chance here on the top line. Mikheyev and Kuzmenko are probably decent prop options. For Calgary, I'm going to stick to the guns here with assuming he plays. He might not be in the lineup tonight, but Matthew Phillips, it looks like he might be a healthy scratch. He hasn't had that big impact since joining the lineup as I was hoping. Ruzicka, though, is definitely worth a look. And looks like Dylan Dubé for the Flames is going to get some power play time tonight, more power play time. So Dylan Dubé might be a goal prop worth looking at tonight for the Flames. And I do like the game over 6.5, but nothing on the side here. Austin, I know you got to run, so we'll start with you on this one, and then we'll let you run. And also we'll get your best bet from you before you leave as well. But Vancouver, Calgary, what do you like here, Austin?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it all, right? Both teams, again, up and down. As a former very large Jonathan Huberdeau fan, I thought the exchange between Jonathan Huberdeau and Matthew Tkachuk wasn't really going to play that huge of a factor for the Calgary Flames. Obviously, you're losing an in-your-face kind of guy, a way different type of player, but both people who were able to produce. And I was really hoping that Huberdeau could go there and have success, but they've really been struggling. They've showed glimpses of being a Stanley Cup contender, and then they've shown glimpses of them being arguably one of the worst teams in the league. So very hard team to bet on. I'm not loving them even at home. But I think my favorite bet in this game is Bo Horvat anytime at plus 180. Big fan of Bo Horvat. Talk about a guy who works really, really hard, in your face style, kind of like that Matthew Tkachuk, but him and JT Miller are really carrying that load in Vancouver. So big fan of Bo Horvat. I'm going to go Bo Horvat anytime.
Nothing wrong with that. And this might be a good night for it because every night's been pretty much a good night to take a shot with Bo Horvat to score. He's had an incredible start to the season, 20 goals. But tonight especially because he made that declaration yesterday, I've rejected the latest contract offer from Vancouver. We're not going to revisit it now. We're going to let the season play out. So now you've got a guy playing for a contract as well, Bo Horvat. So we always say that often gets the best out of a player. I don't know how much more better he can get, though. He's already got 29 points, 20 goals on the season. But, yeah, he's now playing for big money, in the offseason, whether it's from Vancouver or from another team now after saying that we're done negotiating for now. So another reason that maybe we're going to get Bo Horvat, really continuing to play at a high level as he looks for that big contract in the offseason for sure. And so liking Bo Horvat, plus 180, yeah, still, that's not a bad price. I mean, for a guy that's just been tearing it up and now he's got extreme incentive now looking to get that big contract in the offseason as well. Austin McElmurray, phenomenal stuff. Great guest, great job. Great having you on the show today. Before we let you go, though, give us a best bet for the card tonight. What do you like the most?
Matt Boldy over 0.5 point. Obviously a heavy favorite at minus 130 right now, but really like this guy's game, man. He could score from the outside and he's not afraid to get dirty and go to the net either. So obviously playing on that first power play unit with who I think is arguably a top 5 player in the NHL right now, in Kirill Kaprizov. I think, he's definitely my bet here. So Matt Boldy over 0.5 point is going to be my lock.
There you go. Matt Boldy. Forgot the best bet, Cam. There we go. Matt Boldy to get a point, minus 130 of the Minnesota Wild for Austin McElmurray with his best bet here for the Wednesday card. Great stuff, Austin. Thanks for joining us on the show, and we'll try to get you back on later in the season. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. I had a great time. All right. Good stuff. Thanks, Austin. Take care. There you go. Austin McElmurray with us today on the Ice Guy Show. We'll have his Sacred Heart College teammate, believe it or not, Mike Krokock, with me tomorrow on the Ice Guys show. And of course, Mike was with us for the season preview show that we did pre-recorded before the season started. So it'll be nice to have Mike back. We'll get caught up on Mike with the Guildford Flames too, over in the British League too. We'll see how they're doing as well. His team, I think, is playing pretty well right now over there. So we'll get caught up on that. Alex, what are your thoughts here, Vancouver and Calgary?
Yeah, I like the draw here at plus 370. We've seen two of the, Calgary back-to-back games going past regulation. Looking at Vancouver, they had that streak of 3 games going in OT, snapped in the last meeting. But I feel like this could be one of those tight battles. Like I said, two teams don't really care for each other a lot. Remember some of the old kind of going back over a decade now, where they played the playoffs and just that bad blood. We just always kind of saw, and it's interesting because you think of Calgary Edmonton, right? That's the biggest rivalry, but Calgary Vancouver is pretty significant as well. And it always seems to be a lot of chippy play involved, a lot of hitting and pushing and shoving between the whistles with these two teams. So I think that can open up the game a little bit. We see some high scoring back and forth, and I like this one to go past 60. So I think plus 370 is a good number here for this game to go. And so we'll go regulation draw plus 370.
Yeah, 4 or 5 have gone over, by the way, head-to-head. 6-2, 7-1, 5-2, 6-3, and 4 of the 5 meetings recently between the Flames and the Canucks as well. So definitely. And liking the draw is Alex in this one with the Flames and the Canucks. Because look at the Canucks. They played, like you said, overtime 3 of the last 4 games back-to-back beyond regulation for Calgary against Toronto and Montreal. So there's a lot of current form that points to these teams going beyond regulation. So the draw might be live tonight with Vancouver and Calgary. Great stuff with Alex here and our special guest, Austin McElmurray. Again, thank you very much to him for joining us here on the show. And again, if you're watching on YouTube Live, hit the like button. Help us out. We appreciate that very much as well. And like we said, it's just been a great bet cast last night. We're going to have another one in January, and we appreciate you guys for joining us last night. And we talked about Gramco earlier. Make sure you support our sponsors that support the show. Time now to also talk about Manscaped. Support for the Ice Guys brought to you by Manscaped, the best men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off, free worldwide shipping with the promo code IceGuys at manscaped.com. And again, that's about 14 million balls. I mean, great, unbelievable products there. The Lawnmower 4.0, it's unbelievable. The Weed Whacker, again, takes care of the ear hair, the nose hair, and it's really worth it because that's been pissing me off for years, as I've said. It is absolutely, totally worth it. Great products as well. So make sure you take advantage of that. Manscaped.com. There it is on the screen. Manscaped.com. 20% off. Promo code IceGuys. Make sure you take advantage of their great products right before Christmas time. So get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code IceGuys at manscaped.com. All right, best bets here to wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys show. We've got Austin's best bet earlier, Matt Boldy to register a point for the Minnesota Wild. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Yeah, same game. We're going to go full game over 6 minus $1.15 with Detroit and Minnesota. Like I said, this should be a better offensive effort from Detroit. Philip Gustafson, yes, his numbers are satisfactory, 5-4-1, but he's definitely a guy who at any given moment and going up against his former team, mind you, team that he originally kind of started and played many years with the organization with. Maybe that doesn't lean to anything, but I just don't think he's a guy you can rely on game in, game out. And I think Detroit gives a better offensive effort. It should be a fun one to watch, and I like the over 6 minus $1.15 is my best bet tonight.
All right, there we go. Liking the over 6 there for best bet for Alex in that one. All right, my best bet for this card, I'm going to roll with tough decision. I'm going to go Minnesota team total for this one. Over 3.5 with the Wild in this game against Detroit tonight. Hoping Nedeljkovic is the confirmed goalie, as I suspect he will be. And I think the Minnesota Wild, again, they have had a habit of scoring minimum 4 goals head-to-head against Detroit, and especially here in Minnesota. The last 2 times they've hosted the Red Wings, they have scored at least 4 goals in those 2 games and 11 goals combined in those 2 games as well. I think they've got a chance to hit the 4-goal mark tonight. Minnesota Wild team total over 3.5, minus 132 at Pinnacle looks to be the best price you can get with that right now. So wild team total over 3.5. That'll be my best bet here for this Wednesday card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Alex will be off tomorrow, possibly Friday as well. But we will have Mike Krokock joining me tomorrow. And of course, Jimmy Murphy, our Friday guest, with me on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And make sure you check out patreon.com/Ice Guys as well. $10 a month. Our daily Ice Guys show betting card posted there, power ratings, goalie and totals charts, and more. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 a month.
Yeah, and also check out the Ice Guys store at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. You waited too long for the standard shipping, but they do have premium and express shipping available if you want to get gifts under the tree in time for Christmas. We're just 11 days away from Christmas Day, so hurry up with that. Go visit iceguys.myspreadshop.com and grab some stuff. We got shirts, we've got hoodies, we got caps. We got the blue shirts are back in stock now as well, so it's a good time to take advantage.
There we go. Yeah, take advantage of the Ice Guys store. More merch, more products being added to the Ice Guys store. So make sure you check that out. Great stuff. And again, thanks again to everybody that tuned in and joined us on the Betcast last night. That was absolutely a ton of fun. All right, a reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex P. Smith, thanks to our special guest, Austin McElmurray, for joining us as well. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.